Is it really possible to simply reject the entire system and start living completely by your own rules? Today we're taking a look at Walenty Popadyn, a man with, to put it mildly, a very colorful life story, who in his book asks exactly this question. How do you escape a system that was designed to keep us inside it? All right then, let's get into it. And right from the beginning, we get a strong opening. This sentence is basically the very essence of his philosophy. It immediately shows what's really at stake here. We're not talking about some small life changes or a new hobby. We're talking about completely questioning the reality in which all of us function. But before we even get into the theory, let's look at who stands behind it. Because this is not some, desk-bound theorist. Walenty seems to have done everything in his life. Seriously, he was a farmer, the owner of a concrete company, and an electrician on a nuclear submarine in an elite Soviet military unit. Absolutely unbelievable. And it's precisely this incredible mix of experiences that gave him a completely unique perspective on the world. All right, let's get to the core of it. What exactly is this whole matrix that he talks about so much? And let's clarify right away. For him, the matrix is not some science fiction movie. It is a very real structure, a kind of invisible network of lies, patterns, and programs, which, as he claims, guides our choices from childhood, often completely without our knowledge or consent. And look at how specifically he breaks it down into individual elements. These are the pillars of the matrix. We have the school system, which in his opinion teaches obedience rather than resourcefulness. We have the retirement trap, where you work your whole life for almost nothing in old age. Then there's the constant chase for a new phone, a new car, the creation of artificial needs, and finally the control of institutions, and what he calls the urban prison. Each of these elements is meant to keep us under control. All right, the diagnosis is there, and it's a pretty strong one. So now the question is, what do we do about it? And how do we break free from it? Walenty speaks very clearly. The first step is building personal strength and, importantly, financial independence. To understand where this came from, we have to go back to his youth. And here's something very interesting because he completely reverses the perspective. What for many people would be considered a disadvantage, a harsh, Spartan upbringing, for him became his greatest advantage. He says directly that those hardships toughened him and gave him the strength to stand up against the system at all. And now listen to this. It sounds like a movie script. At the age of 13, he was already working construction. Shortly afterward, still as a teenager, he started his own company that earned more money than his parents did. Before his peers even went to university, he already had business experience and military service in an elite unit behind him. This shows how early he started building his capital, and not just the kind stored in a bank account. And this leads us to an absolutely key principle of Walenty Popadyn. True wealth is not money in a bank account. It is constant investment in yourself, in your knowledge, in your skills, because that is something nobody can ever take away from you. Ever. And from this comes what you could call his golden rule of development. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. That's it. Period. Instead of reading books written by theorists, he says, go talk to a practitioner, someone who is already where you would like to be. And the best part is that he reduces it to an incredibly simple formula. There's no black magic here. Just find someone who inspires you, invite them for coffee, and listen. Ask about everything, failures and successes alike. According to him, most people who have achieved something are willing to share it. You just have to ask. All right, but let's go further, because this is not the end. Money is one thing, but for Walenty it is only a means to an end. True freedom, the ultimate kind, lies in something completely different: self-sufficiency. And here we get the perfect comparison between these two worlds. On one side, we have the urban prison, high costs, stress, commuting, dependence on the system. And on the other side, rural freedom and self-sufficiency, contact with nature, your own food. For him, the choice is simple. And these are not fantasies. These are concrete, practical steps. Your own piece of land, your own food, so you know what you're eating, your own water, your own energy. This is not about escaping into the forest and living like a hermit. It's about regaining control over the things that are absolutely fundamental. And for him, that is true independence. But before we start building houses out of clay, there is still one more step, maybe even a more important one. Walenty says that the entire revolution must begin in the mind, with self-love. And this is not some empty cliché. For him, it is the foundation of assertiveness that allows a person to say no to the system. And again, this is not just theory. He actually does it. He describes how every single day begins with time exclusively for himself. An hour of silence, thinking, walking before the world and all its matters come knocking at the door. This is conscious recharging, every day. This is work. All right then, let's put all of this together. What is the final conclusion? What does it actually mean to live your own life? There is a saying that Walenty often quotes: "We become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with." And he believes this completely, 100%. The people we surround ourselves with shape our reality. That is why choosing those people is an absolutely crucial life decision. And this is probably the most important sentence in this entire puzzle. In the end, everything comes down to one thing. Life is the art of choice. Blaming the system, the government, or anyone else is a waste of time. According to Walenty, we have 100% influence over what happens inside our own minds, and through that, over our entire lives. And I'll leave everyone with this question. What does it mean to live your own life? Because the path proposed by Walenty Popadyn is, well, radical. Probably not for everyone, but his story and his views force you to stop for a moment and think. How much of the life you are living is truly your own choice, and how much is simply going with the flow? And what can be done to change it?